Imagine being the new kid in school, carrying your lunch tray with trembling hands, hoping no one notices you. But instead, the worst happens. Someone snatches it right out of your hands. The cafeteria bursts with laughter, everyone watching as you stand frozen. But what if I told you that only moments later, the entire room fell into a silence so heavy that no one dared to laugh again? This is not just a story about a stolen lunch. It's about courage, hidden strength, and the moment when one voice can change an entire room. Stay with me till the very end, because what happened in that cafeteria is something you'll never forget. The cafeteria buzzed with noise, the clash of trays, the chatter of friends, and the echo of laughter bouncing off the walls. For Emma, the noise was overwhelming. She had just transferred to Willow Creek High, a place where she didn't know a single soul. Her parents had moved here for work, and Emma felt like a shadow in a sea of strangers. She carried her lunch tray carefully, her eyes scanning for an empty table. She spotted a corner by the window. Relief washed over her. Just a few steps and she could sit, eat quietly, and survive the day. But before she could even reach the table, a loud voice cut through the cafeteria. Well, what do we have here? The new girl? 3 boys, tall and broad-shouldered, blocked her path. They were the kind of boys everyone else seemed to orbit around. Football jackets, confident grins, eyes that carried mischief. Looks like she's got something fancy. One of them sneered, pointing at her tray. Emma's face heated. Please, let me pass, she whispered, trying to sidestep. But the tallest of them, Kyle, smirked and snatched the tray out of her hands. Her lunch, the one her mom had lovingly packed that morning, now dangled in his grip. He tilted it as if inspecting a trophy. Homemade food. How cute, Kyle said mockingly. Then, without warning, he shoved it onto his own table, letting his friends dig in. Laughter erupted. Some kids giggled nervously, others openly clapped at the spectacle. Emma stood frozen, her hands trembling, her eyes burning with humiliation. She wanted to disappear, to shrink so small no one could ever see her again. But something inside her refused to move. She stood there motionless, her eyes fixed not on Kyle, but on the lunch her mother had made. A sandwich wrapped neatly, apple slices in a small container, a note tucked in. You are stronger than you know. Her chest tightened. And then it happened. The cafeteria laughter began to fade, not because anyone felt pity, but because something unusual was happening. Emma, the quiet new girl, was not crying, not fleeing. She was standing tall, her eyes steady, and for the first time silence began to creep into the room. Kyle froze mid-bite, sensing the shift. He looked up, expecting to see Emma broken, maybe even in tears. Instead, he saw a gaze so steady it unsettled him. Her eyes weren't filled with anger, but with something deeper, quiet strength. Emma took a slow step forward. The cafeteria, once noisy, had gone eerily still, as though everyone was holding their breath. You think taking my lunch makes you stronger? Emma's voice was calm but carried across the room. Go ahead, eat it. But remember, that food was made by someone who believes in me. And no matter how much you laugh, you can't take that away. Her words weren't shouted, but they struck harder than any scream could. The room was dead silent now. Even the teachers near the door paused to watch. Kyle's smirk faltered. He shoved the sandwich back onto the tray as if it burned his hands. His friends exchanged uneasy glances. They weren't laughing anymore. Emma walked to the table, picked up her lunch, now messy but still intact, and calmly sat down at the empty seat by the window. She unwrapped the sandwich, smoothed the crumpled note, and began to eat. Her hands still shook, but she didn't let it show. The silence stretched on. Students who had laughed moments ago avoided her eyes. A strange weight hung in the room, respect maybe, or shame. For the first time, Emma wasn't invisible. She hadn't fought back with fists or insults. She had done something stronger. She had stood her ground. By the next day, whispers followed her through the halls. But they weren't cruel anymore. That's the girl who stood up to Kyle. Did you see the way she looked at him? Even teachers took notice. And slowly, Emma began to find her place. Classmates who admired her courage, friends who wanted to sit with her, and a growing belief inside herself that she really was stronger than she knew. And Kyle, he never tried to take her lunch again. In fact, weeks later, he walked past her in the hallway, gave a faint nod, and kept moving. It wasn't an apology, but it was something. Emma had walked into Willow Creek High as a shadow. But after that day in the cafeteria, she was no longer invisible. She had a voice, she had a presence. And she had shown everyone, Sometimes silence isn't weakness. Sometimes silence is the loudest, most powerful answer of all. And that's what happened in the cafeteria that day. They thought stealing her lunch would humiliate her, but instead it revealed her strength. Remember this, you don't need fists or insults to stand tall. Sometimes, all it takes is holding your ground and speaking your truth. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Story Sphere for more inspiring stories like this one.